To map the PK data, log into Admin UI and select the drug program and dataset that you want to add the data to. Click Edit, and from the Clinical Study Setup menu, select Create Mappings to the source data. As you can see, this study already has some data populated, which has been presented in previous training videos. We now want to add PK data, so if we click Add, we select our data type, which is PK concentration. And we enter our file path manually. Remember, this is the location of where your file is stored. Usually it is in Azure storage. I'm going to click off Predict Columns, as I don't want it to predict off any past mappings, and click OK. As you can see here, I've been presented with a error message that's telling me that the file path could not be found. That means that there must be an error in how I've typed this, so I'm going to click No, do you wish to continue, and retype my file location. So it's Azure file React data testing, and it's PK underscore concentration. Remember, when you enter your file path, you need to enter .csv afterwards. So click OK. Still saying it can't find it. As you can see, now that the correct file path has been added, the mappings table is presented below. So as in previous mappings, what we now need to do is we need to map the source data column heading to the correct data field within the mappings table. So study identifier, in my source data file is study. Study part identifier is part in my source data file. Subject identifier is subject. So remember, what we're populating here is the column header in the source data file that maps to the data file data field that's requested in the mapping table. Now, specimen identifier this is this actually links to the record in the specimen collection data file as well. Therefore, it must be the same. The field must be the same and populated with the same data as in the specimen collection file. So this is specimen ID. Analyte is analyte. Analyte concentration is analyte concentration. Analyte concentration unit is concentration units. Lower limit of quantification. Treatment cycle. Now here, treatment protocol dose. So the nominal treatment dose can be captured in this field here. In my data file, it's been represented as treatment dose in my source data file. I'll populate that. But you must remember, this actually represents the nominal treatment dose, is what you can capture in this field here. So as you can see, I've populated all my mandatory fields and a couple of non-mandatory fields. One thing to note about this particular table is that treatment schedule and comment, although you can map these if you have these in your source data file, but currently the visualization within VA Hub does not allow you to visualize that data either in the plot or in the details on demand table. Therefore, I'm not populating that data. So as previously, we can now click I confirm that these mappings are correct and click save. So if you see here, the mappings have been saved successfully, and therefore click OK. You can then go on to load this data, or you can choose to populate the mappings for the remaining data files, specimen collection and stacked PK results. If you remember, we said that specimen collection must also be populated for the PK view and the analyte concentration tab to appear, and stacked PK results must be mapped if we want the PK dose exploration tab. Now that we have loaded our PK concentration and mapped our PK concentration file successfully, we can go on to load this data. In the Clinical Study Setup menu, click Review the Data Setup. Ensure that the radio button for confirming that the data is correct has been checked. Click Finish. You are now presented with a pop-up box asking you if you want to upload your data. Click Yes. As the data has been loaded, this brings you back to the React Admin UI homepage. You can then check your data load success by viewing the data load report. We can see that our file has successfully loaded with no errors. You can see that the tables below, the exception report has no errors in it. Source data table report has no data in it. Sorry, select the load that you have just completed. Your source data table report is telling you that your PK concentration file has loaded correctly. Source data field tells you about the mappings and any errors in the mappings. If we just find our PK mappings, so we can see here that all our PK mappings are correct and as expected, and there are no source data values in the source data value report. So we have successfully loaded our data. As mentioned earlier, loading the PK concentration data file does not generate the dose and exposure view within VA Hub. You can check this by logging into VA Hub, selecting the drug program and the dataset to which we have just loaded data. Click Start Analysis, and we can see here from the view menu that PK dosing and exposure view is not populated, and this is because the specimen collection file needs to be mapped and loaded in order for the view to be visible and the associated plots to be presented.